Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to Shadow's Chaos Abilities. How does it work? So, in Project 06 specifically, Shadow has instant access to his 3 initial Chaos boost powers. So all 3 initial levels of it. However, his action gauge doesn't fill up automatically. In order to fill it up, you have to defeat enemies and collect their light cores if they're organic, or their chaos drives if they're mechanical. So, because these enemies are organic, they're yellow. There's literally no difference between the collectible. That's what's flying into Shadow right now. It's just, you know, for a matter of story purposes and that kind of thing. Once your action gauge is filled all the way to full, what you can do is press RT, and that activates Chaos Boost, or R2 or right shift, depending on your preferred playstyle. Now we are in Shadow's Chaos Boost. So at level 1, we have access to a new ability called Chaos Snap, where Shadow, if we do a normal jump dash, we can see that he does this little, like, attempting to teleport if we hold A after we homing attack. If we're close enough to an enemy, we're gonna snap right to that enemy, which is really stinking cool. And thankfully, it's a lot simpler than it is in Retail 06, as 06 was originally released. Because Chaos Snap, oh man, it is a whole slew of mechanics and stuff, but works surprisingly consistently. So that's Chaos Snap. It's great for reaching enemies or objects that you can homing attack out of reach, and can definitely save your butt. Now, the thing is you have to hold A in order to snap to an enemy at the end of your jump dash. However, though, you can just homing attack by quickly pressing and letting go. You don't have to do the snap, and Shadow still instantly warps to the enemy, which is really stinking cool. Now, as you see, when I've been defeating enemies, my red bar underneath the action gauge, which is the maturity meter, has been filling up. If I press RT again while that's full, we are now at level 2 Chaos Boost, which gives us the Chaos Lance. Basically a souped up version of the Chaos Spear. Let me give myself a little bit more meter here with a debug code. And yeah, what it does is it basically gives us a souped up version of the Chaos Spear. Like I said, you can just toss it to do a little bit of damage, or you can charge it up, and it does this huge explosion a la kind of like Chaos Blast. When you defeat enough enemies, you can press RT one more time to get to level 3. And level 3, I think Shadow the Hedgehog fans would really like, is the Chaos Blast. So this instantly defeats any enemy regardless of health. If you just press RT in the air, it uses up some of your action gauge, and you get a big blast, which is really stinking cool. Now, for the sake of this demonstration, obviously when you use Chaos Boost, the meter is supposed to decrease, obviously for balancing purposes and such, to keep defeating enemies. But for the sake of this demonstration, just so I have time to explain things, I am going to be using Infinite. So what there is if you press up on the D-pad, there actually is a 4th ability. In order to get this ability, you have to S-rank all of Shadow's stages. So that even includes Tropical Jungle, even though you don't play as Shadow. You have to S-rank all the stages by getting 50,000 points in all the stages at the end, you know, to get the S-rank. When you do that, when you get your final gold medal, it'll say the Memory Shard Light has appeared in Dusty Desert. So in order to grab the Memory Shard Light, you head to Dusty Desert, and near the very end, right before the final checkpoint, you can actually turn around and there's a new door that's open. You do the little puzzle there with the hover car, you defeat some enemies, you know, jump over bottomless pits and that kind of thing. And then you obtain the Memory Shard Light, which unlocks Shadow's inhibitor rings. Once you have the Memory Shard Light, if you go into a stage and you're at level 3 Chaos Boost, you can hold up on the D-pad and press RT, and Shadow is now in uninhibited mode. This is essentially Shadow's super form, but personally I think way cooler than getting a super form. It doesn't use up rings, but if I deactivate the debug, you can see it decreases the meter extremely quickly. So you definitely have to make sure you kill lots and lots of enemies if you want to keep this state. Shadow, all of his abilities are enhanced. The snap pretty much works the same, but the Chaos Lance is now a one-shot regardless of enemy. You don't even have to charge it up. as well as when Shadow runs into enemies, he does damage on contacts like this guy, and he destroys things in one hit, which is really, really stinking cool. This is a super fun ability, especially when we use it in the speed run. Now, Shadow's uninhibited mode, let's just do a Chaos Blast. You can see increased range. The damage isn't really increased because it already destroyed everything in one hit. To note that when you have any level of Chaos boost, if you are in Shadow's vehicle, you have infinite ammo, which is really cool, and again, kind of a nod to Shadow the Hedgehog. So, again, when you have your action gauge when it's normal and not in debug mode, the meter decreases. When it decreases all the way, there's actually a consequence to using uninhibited mode. Shadow will be still and have this little recovery animation where I believe he's still for about 5 or 6 seconds, and he's completely vulnerable, like enemies can still attack you and stuff. But thankfully, you know, you can have rings since the rings don't decrease in that form. And yeah. So that's all of Shadow's Chaos abilities. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.